Good evening. I'll now call to order the City County Council meeting for Monday, September 13th, 2021. And we will begin our meeting with prayer and pledge of allegiance, led by Councilor Graves.
Church of Indianapolis for 15 years. He is a devoted husband, loving father, published author, business owner, community leader, and educator. Pastor Sullivan is also a strong representative of the many members of District 13. Pastor Sullivan and his wife, Lady Roxy, have 3 children, Gabrielle, Kennedy, and David Jeremiah. For the prayer, Pastor Sullivan.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all the stakeholders of Indianapolis. It's so good to be with you all and recognize my own district counselor on today. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so very much for allowing our hearts and minds to be gathered in this room. Father, we pray for each and every person and each and every case that will be covered and dealt with on tonight. We ask that you would bless us as we come collectively to gather and to work together to see how we can improve the lives of everyone in the city of Indianapolis. I pray and ask that you would bless each and every councilman, councilwoman, and all of those who play a part of our community to make it better and safer for us all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Councilors, please select your green button to indicate your attendance. Councilor Gray. Councilor Gray. Councilor Anay has asked to be excused for this evening. So currently we have 23 members present, and hopefully we'll be joined by Minority Leader Mowry. We have no guests this evening who are not already part of the agenda. So the next item on our agenda is official communications. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, you are hereby notified that regular meetings of the City County Council, Police, Fire, and Solid Waste Collection Special Service District Councils will be held in the City County Building in the Council Chambers on Monday, September 13th, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. The purposes of such meetings being to conduct any and all business that may properly come before regular meetings of the councils. Sincerely, Bob Osley, President, City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the laws of the state of Indiana, at cause to be published in the Court and Commercial Record and in the Indianapolis Star on Friday, August 27, 2021, a copy of a notice of public hearing on proposal numbers 250, 255, 286, and 290, 2021. Said hearing to be held on Monday, September 13, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Public Assembly Room of the City County Building. Respectfully, Sarita Hughes, Clerk of the City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I have approved with my signature and delivered this day to the Clerk of the City County Council, Sarita Hughes, the following ordinances. General Resolution Numbers 7 through 9, General Ordinance Numbers 28 through 32, Special Resolution Numbers 31 and 32. Joseph H. Hogsett, Mayor. Mr. President, this concludes the official communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is adoption of the agenda. Do I have consent?
Consent.
The next item on our agenda is approval of journals for August the 9th, 2021. Do I have consent? We'll now proceed to presentation of petitions, memorials, special resolutions, and council resolutions. And this first item on our agenda is proposal number 216, referred to Administration and Finance Committee. Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 216, 2021 was heard by Admin and Finance, approves the mayor's appointment of Joe Glass as Director of Audit and Performance. It passed out of committee 11-01 on a do pass.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, let's proceed to the board for our vote. Motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is introduction of proposals. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal numbers 292 through 295 were referred to the Municipal Corporations Committee and were introduced by Councilors Gray, Carlino, J. Evans, Barth, Potts, Adamson, Brown, and Graves. Proposal 292 approves the issuance of Indianapolis Marion County Public Library General Obligation Bonds, Series 2021C, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,575,000 for the purpose of financing all or any portion of the 2021-2022 energy conservation and district-wide long-term capital maintenance and equipping project to improve patron experience and provide better access to information. Proposal number 293 approves the appropriation of the bond proceeds and investment earnings of the Indianapolis Marion County Public Library General Obligation Bonds, Series 2021C, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,575,000 for the purpose of financing all or any portion of the 2021-2022 energy conservation and district-wide long-term capital maintenance and equipping project to improve patron experience and provide a better access to information. Proposal number 294 approves the issuance of Indianapolis Marion County Public Library General Obligation Bonds, Series 2022, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,575,000 for the purpose of financing all or any portion of the 2022-2023 energy conservation and district-wide long-term capital maintenance and equipping project to improve patron experience and provide better access to information. Proposal number 295 approves the appropriation of proceeds and investment earnings of the Indianapolis Marion County Public Library General Obligation Bonds Series 2022 in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,575,000 for the purpose of financing all or any portion of the 2022-2023 energy conservation and district-wide long-term capital maintenance and equipping project to improve patron experience and provide better access to information. Proposal numbers 296 through 298 refer to the Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee and were introduced by Councilor Osley. Proposal number 296 reappoints Anthony Bridgman to the Board of Business and Neighborhood Services. Proposal number 297 reappoints Karen Calasino Horseman to the Animal Services Advisory Board. Proposal number 298, reappoint Stacy Hurley to the Animal Services Advisory Board. Proposal number 299, introduced by Councilor Osili, referred to the Municipal Corporations Committee, reappoints Richard Wilson Jr. to the Indianapolis Public Transportation Corporation Board of Directors. Proposal numbers 300 through 304 refer to the Municipal Corporations Committee and were introduced by Councilor Gray. Proposal number 300 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Indianapolis Airport Authority and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2022. Proposal number 301 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Capital Improvement Board of Managers and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2022. Proposal number 302 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies for the Health and Hospital Corporation and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2022. Proposal number 303 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Indianapolis Public Transportation Corporation, Indigo, and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporation for 2022. Proposal number 304 adopts the operating and maintenance budgets and tax levies of the Indianapolis Marion County Public Library and establishes appropriations for said municipal corporations for 2022. Proposal number 305, introduced by Councilor Adamson, referred to the Public Works Committee, authorizes intersection controls at the intersection of Arsenal Avenue and Marlowe Avenue in District 17. Mr. President, this concludes the introductions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is special orders, priority business. Proposal numbers 306 through 313, 2021, are all rezoning ordinances certified to the Council for approval by the Metropolitan Development Commission. If no one wishes to call any of these rezonings down for public hearing, they will pass into law. Does anyone wish to call down any of the rezonings? All right, seeing no one, proposals number 306 to 313, 2021 will now pass into law. Proposal numbers 314 and 315, 2021 are rezoning ordinances certified for denial by the Metropolitan Development Commission on August 24th, 2021. If no councilor wishes to call down the proposals for reconsideration, the proposals will stand as denied. Does anyone wish to call down either of the proposals for reconsideration? Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that proposal number 315, 2021, rezoning case 2021 CZN 817, located at 226 and 228 North College Avenue, be scheduled for a hearing before this council at its next regular meeting on September 27th, 2021 at 7 p.m., and the clerk read the announcement of such hearing and enter the same in the minutes of this meeting, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded. Madam Counsel, would you provide some announcement of the public hearing that would go with this?
Thank you, Mr. President. This council will hold a public hearing on rezoning petition number 2021 CZN 817, council proposal number 315 2021 at its next regular meeting on Monday, September 27th, 2021. Such meeting to convene at 7 p.m. in these council chambers in the City County building. This petition proposes to rezone 0.82 acres from the D8 district to the MU2 district at 2216 and 2228 North College Avenue. Written objections that are filed with the clerk of the council shall be heard at such time, or the hearing may be continued from time to time as found necessary by the council. This concludes the announcement of a public hearing.
All right. In order for this to proceed, then, I would like to ask for a roll call vote to schedule the proposal for public hearing. Madam Clerk. The green is yes. The red is no. All right, that motion carries 23 to 1. Thank you, Council Kim. Seeing no further motions, proposal number 315 will be scheduled for public hearing, and proposal number 314 will stand as denied. The next item on our agenda is special orders public hearing. And before we open the floor to public comments, our general counsel, would you please read some of the ground rules? Council Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we move to the public comment portion of debate for these proposals, we would like to remind council members and the public of a few ground rules. So everyone can have a fair chance to speak and be heard, it is important that we each observe the following rules. First, each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Second, any public comments must reasonably relate to the agenda item under consideration. Third, speakers who stray from the item under consideration or become unduly repetitious may be asked to move on to their next point or conclude their comments. Finally, attendees who cause disruptions that prevent the council from proceeding through tonight's agenda in a reasonably efficient manner will be removed. Please remember that some types of threatening speech or incitement to violence are not protected by the First Amendment at all. We will deal with those situations if they come up, but we don't think they will. And now, Mr. President, if a council member asks for consent to adopt these rules, we can proceed to public comments.
Consent.
Very good. Thank you very much, Council Kim. So this next item on our agenda is proposal number 250, referred to Administration and Finance Committee. Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 250, 2021 was introduced on 8/9. It approves an additional appropriation not to exceed $100 million in the 2021 city non-department budget federal stimulus COVID grant from Character 3 to help address the demand for the residential rental assistance for Marion County residents who have been impacted by the pandemic. I so move. It passed 10-0.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a couple clarifying questions, if anybody here can answer them regarding this proposal. The first question is around the type of assistance. It states here that it's for rental assistance, and I'm curious, what about the demand for mortgage assistance? When we have folks that call up to the city and say that they're also in the same predicament as some of the folks that are renting, what are the options for the folks that have a mortgage?
Very good. Is there anyone from administration who can answer the question?
I could, Mr. President. Thank you, councilors. I'm Jeff Bennett. I'm the Deputy Mayor of Community Development. Your question is a good one, Councilor Hart. The reason that there is a rental assistance program in Marion County that is Indianapolis specific is because we received an allocation of federal funds that was Indianapolis specific, and we did not for mortgage assistance. However, the state of Indiana did receive an allocation of funds for mortgage assistance to which Marion County residents will be able to apply. And so I would just use this opportunity to direct those who need mortgage payment assistance to a website that is 877gethope.org, GETHOPE.org. And the state, as it rolls out the application for mortgage assistance, which I think will be yet this fall, then those residents will be queued up to receive a notification on how to apply for those funds. So 877gethope.org is the website for mortgage assistance.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bennett. And I just had the second question in terms of, and I brought this up last time we were here in this same setting, in terms of creating dependencies, and these are one-time dollars that we're able to do this with. What measures are we putting in place to prevent dependencies from these one-time appropriations?
So you're absolutely correct. These are one-time dollars, and our effort tonight and ongoing effort will be to maximize the amount of federal assistance that we can keep in Marion County to provide that one-time assistance. So to the benefit of both tenants and landlords in a donor city of Indianapolis in a donor state of Indiana. But to your point, there has to be a COVID-related circumstance that triggers the applicability of these funds for a tenant who needs rental assistance. And so that means job loss or hours cut or loss of income for other reasons, or increase in medical expenses due to COVID, or the loss of child care prohibiting one from being able to go to work. Our households that are qualifying for rental assistance have indicated that between February 2020, the last full month before the pandemic, and the month of their application for rental assistance, there was a loss of income to the tune of more than $28 million in our community. And so we are able to use these funds to provide a fixed, finite duration of assistance, and it had been a maximum of 3 months, as you all know. This Proposal 250, will enable us to go to the full 12 months of assistance that Congress has authorized through CARES Act 2. The silver lining is our data is showing that most households don't need 12 months of assistance, that most that are coming in really just owe $2,000 or less. A few more than that owe $5,000 or less, and then a very small percentage could owe more than $5,000. But what we're seeing so far is that our ability to assist that one time is providing the boost that a household needs to get sort of back on their feet. Now, during the application process, we survey other needs. So if there's a household that needs food, or a household that needs utility bill covered, or a household that needs access to child care, or a household that needs access to employment, and then we can connect them through our community center network of partners, our 13 partners who are working with us on this program, to open jobs or to programs that can skill up workers to get the jobs that are available. So, we're doing all that we can through the programs that we have supported in the past, and through the programs that we're supporting hopefully tonight through the additional appropriation of ARP funding, to make sure that we are emerging with a workforce that's in a stronger position now than they were when the pandemic first hit.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is kind of a logistical question, and maybe it's for Council Kim, if that's okay. I remember we initially wrote the proposal to the D&E 100 million, but since then I know the state has come back to say it's a $91 million allotment, I believe. And I just wanted to make sure we didn't need to amend anything, and the D&E do not exceed is still appropriate for this proposal. Thank you.
I don't believe it's necessary to amend, Counselor.
Very good. Thank you. Councilor Mowry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kind of piggybacking off Hart's question, was there a reason that the city was not approved for the mortgage assistance and the state was? And if so, do we know why that was?
It wasn't an application process. It was bestowed upon us by Congress, and it went to the state and not the cities.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. And then as far as those offerings, those programs you're offering to the folks with the rental assistance, are we offering the same programs to people with home ownership?
So the state has an array of programs that are available for homeowners. We would certainly connect homeowners in Marion County to similar array of services through the community center network that we have.
But it does not have to go through the state. It can come through you folks?
It could, but we can't pay the mortgage. So they're
yeah,
going
I get the
to
mortgage. I'm talking about like the food assistance, things like that. They can come to you for the same things?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Chairman Gray.
So there are two things that could happen. So yes, a landlord could refuse. A landlord could still choose to evict a tenant. However, because of this source of funds through the through CARES Act 2, we can cut checks directly to tenants whose landlords choose not to participate. We have to go through a kind of a notification process to document how we've tried to reach the landlord and that the landlord hasn't responded. But in this case, in this program this year, we can pay rental assistance directly to tenants. Then the tenant can use those funds to move if necessary. That we could not prohibit a landlord from evicting. We would hope to, but I don't think that we could.
Chairman Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff, is there a ceiling that would eliminate some of this expensive, very expensive rental property in Indianapolis? Is there a ceiling that they would not be eligible for assistance, or will they be? Does it cover everyone, or is that a cutoff?
So there are two sort of qualifications. One is an income-based qualification. We can only assist households that prior to the pandemic made a maximum of 80% of the area's median income, and that's about $65,000 for a family of four. And then we will pay up to a maximum of the HUD-established fair market rent for Indianapolis. And I can send those maximum rents to you all. But by and large, our rents across Marion County don't exceed the HUD fair market rent unless we get into sort of downtown type rents. So that hasn't been too much of a barrier for assistance.
There's a Marion County rate, or is there a rate attached zip codes? I mean, what are you going by?
It is a county-wide. It's actually an MSA-wide rate.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Evans, Ethan Evans.
Thank you. I had a question regarding the fund timeline. So if, let's say, not all of the funds are expended within that timeline, what happens to them?
So they could be subject to recapture by the Department of the Treasury. The timeline that we're operating under is we have to obligate 65% of the funds by the end of September, so we've got to hustle. And then we have to expend the funds by the end of September of 2022. So we are confident that we're gonna meet both those deadlines.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, we intend not to give any money back.
Very good. Councilor Jared Evans.
Thank you, Mr. President. Deputy Mayor, that was exactly the comment right there. We intend not to give the money back. These are federal dollars coming down to the state. Indiana pays more than it receives back from the feds. Indianapolis pays more than it receives back from the state. We should absolutely 100% be behind giving these dollars to people in Indianapolis who are suffering from COVID-related employment issues or back rent. I don't understand why this is a discussion. It's common sense.
Councilor Graves.
Thanks, Mr. President. Deputy Mayor Bennett, through your calculations, do you think that we'll have enough money in this particular appropriation to meet the need of our community?
So we also have still yet to tap are the American Rescue Plan emergency rental assistance dollars. So what we're trying to do with CARES Act 2 funds, while we have this year left on the clock to spend them, is to maximize their use in Marion County before we even touch the $33.5 million in American Rescue Plan rental assistance funds. So we think we will max out both of those sources of funds and then have a really good sense of what we might need in terms of rental assistance for a permanent program that we would like to launch for Marion County. But we would have to identify a separate source of funds to do that.
Additional questions, comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the public who wants to comment on proposal number 250? And I'll remind anyone coming forward to keep the comments relevant and to look at that clock. And when that runs out at 2 minutes, we expect the comments to be over.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, we spoke here tonight about spending these funds which were derived from the COVID, so-called COVID dilemma that we've been through already. And I was surprised to find, you know, you're doing a lot of building, you're making a lot of expenditures for you folks at home. You see all the new apartment buildings going up downtown and all in different parts of town. Well, I heard on WIBC that they were appropriating this $100 million, and I said, well, let's see how it's being spent. And come to find out, I was in here last week, and the people from the Metropolitan Development Board, Mr. President, were in here talking about how they were leasing up these buildings. We're going to lease this building up. We're going to lease that building up. Well, what they're doing is they're taking that money, and all these apartments that you see they're building, they're subsidizing these people to move into these apartments at lower than market rates. And you talked about dependency, Mr. President. They are creating a whole new situation of dependency within this city when you allow somebody to move into a $1,700 a month apartment for $200 a month. Well, that's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, with this money that the government have appropriated pursuant to the COVID virus, of which business has been destroyed, of which people have lost their homes and are losing them now. And you see there's no help for that mortgage person. You see there's no help for that person who may be behind on their property tax, and the state is certainly going to foreclose on. But what the deal is they are taking this money and all these fancy apartment buildings that they're putting up around town, they're using this money to subsidize these people that are moving in. They may be college graduates, they may be tax savvy, so they know the criterion, so that they can go on the internet and navigate these complicated websites and get that money, and they're doing it. So I just think you talked about dependency, Mr. President. This is more like enslavement of a whole new class of people. Thank you.
Are there additional comments from anyone in the public on Proposal 250? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. Motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is Proposal number 252, referred to Administration and Finance Committee. Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 252 was heard by Admin and Finance on 9/7. It authorizes issuance of general obligation bonds of the consolidated city in aggregated principal amount not to exceed $18 million to finance the firehouse project and the solid waste facility project. It passed out of committee 11-0. I do so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone in the public who wants to comment on Proposal 252?
Yes, Mr. President. Every time we have something that comes up with our principal services here in the city, there's always a bond issue. A couple of weeks ago, we had the Beach Grove Fire Department in here. They acted like they weren't so involved in merging with Indianapolis, but it looks like it was being forced on them. So now we accrue another almost $6 million when we bring them into the fold, spending for their uniforms, spending to equip their fire stations, to buy new trucks and so forth, and they give nothing. Even the mayor of Beach Grove just said that they were going to save over $5 million if this transaction is completed. So I just think the city of Indianapolis is being too much of a good time, Charlie, taking our tax dollars, ladies and gentlemen, and spending it with these township fire departments. They don't want anything to do with Indianapolis, and I don't blame them, really, except for they can get some money. So they're taking our money, they're being careless with it, they're making more and more bond issues, which I could say that this is for public use since it's for the fire department. That's the only saving grace, but this would be unnecessary if we were not going around the counties that separated from us with Unigov and said they had their own domain and that they were going to pay their own bills, collect their own taxes, and now they're punking us out, making us come down and pay for their fire service, and as if they didn't even want it, but it was being forced on them. $5 million a year that accrues against our budget, Mr. President, and that's careless use of our money to fund Beach Grove. They got their own money. The mayor said they had it, but we forced $5 million on the city of Beach Grove, ladies and gentlemen, to secure their fire safety.
Is there anyone in the public who wants to comment on Proposal 252? All right, seeing no one, let's proceed to the board for our vote. Madam Clerk. The motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 253, referred to Administration and Finance Committee. Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 253 was heard on September 7th. It authorizes the city to execute certain leases with the Indianapolis-Marion County Building Authority for the Coroner Project, Circle City Forward projects, including Forensics Crime Lab, a new juvenile facility, animal care shelter, Frederick Douglass Park and Family Center, and playground projects. Passed out of Committee 11-0. I so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to be added as a co-sponsor of this proposal.
Very good, thank you. Additional comments from councilors? Councilor Ethan Evans.
I would like, is anyone available who is with the juvenile justice facility able to comment? I had just had a question regarding some community meetings. And the
If I may, Mr. President?
Yes, please proceed. Thank you.
Counselor, would you repeat your question?
So I'd been reached out to by a few constituents, and they had made mention that they didn't feel there were many youth voices included in the planning and outreach in the initial just planning and design process going forward before this was brought up. So I just wanted to ask, what outreach, what community meetings have been done prior to coming forward? Were there youth-centered voices in here? How many different community groups have been involved in the process?
Thank you, Counselor. I think that question would be best answered by members of the Executive Committee of the Marion Superior Court, based upon the work that I have done with them firsthand over the past several months working on the design and planning for this project. They have met with a number of community groups, not only those that live in the area of the community justice campus, but also with justice reform and juvenile justice reform stakeholders. So I think I can speak on their behalf to say that there have been a significant number of outreach meetings and events to ensure that there has been as much input as possible. But I would also say that the planning continues for this project. We have used the $19.1 million appropriated by the council earlier in the year for design and engineering on a preliminary basis for all of the projects that are part of proposal 253, including this one. So the planning is ongoing. We are here to just seek the authorization from the council to issue debt to finance the project, but the planning isn't, the actual final plans for the building are not yet set in stone.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. Additional questions from councilors? Councilor Larison.
Yeah, Councilor Evans, just to follow up, I did actually have that same question that you had. I'd heard the same things. I had reached out to Judge Amy Jones and Emily Van Osdal, who works in for the courts. What they had committed to me was the next step as design as starting in, that their teams would be meeting with various youth groups specifically. They had met with neighborhood groups, which it's in District 12 early on, but the next step that they had committed to me was that they were going to meet with the various groups that are interested in youth justice reform. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councillor. Additional comments or questions? Chairman Gray. Very good. Thank you, Chairman. Additional comments? Councillor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make a comment, as a member of this legislative body, that I'm a bit conflicted on this proposal. I've done a tour of the coroner's facility. I've done a tour of the forensics facility, and I can hands down say that both of those facilities are outdated and they need improvements. We're seeing a lot of struggles in the coroner's facility in terms of increased body counts for a multitude of reasons. I had a conversation with Alfie just a few days ago, about this particular proposal. And, one of the things she mentioned to me that was quite startling was the increase of drug-related deaths that they are seeing in terms of individuals, the decedents at the facility. And what conflicts me about this proposal is with that in the back of my mind and all the money that we're putting here towards a juvenile facility. Last time we had this conversation coming up, I was a proponent of revitalizing the current facility and saving some of those other dollars for programmed use, in which one of those things, which is very apparent that we need to do, is as a council and legislative body start focusing some of our efforts on drug-related programs, on how we can help people get off drugs or whatever substance that they may be on. So I'm conflicted because I also talk to constituents who, air their grievances with me on spending $40 million on a juvenile justice center, and they recommend these same things to me. So, I know we cannot divide this. I've had those conversations with Sarah, and, there's more good in this than there's bad, but at the end of the day, we as a council need to start putting a little bit more focus on what we're going to do with some of these individuals in our city and prevent them from becoming decedents in our coroner's office because of the use of drugs. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good, Councillor. Additional comments from councillors? Proposal 253. All right, seeing no one, is there anyone in the public who wants to comment on Proposal 253?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't want to talk about the juvenile center because it's necessary and that I'm glad to see it change, but here's what I'm talking about. I was in my own neighborhood over at 25th and Andrew J. Brown. That's where the Frederick Douglass Park is located. I remember about 20 years ago, money was appropriated to fix this center. 20 years ago. I think that the money that's being spent right now is based on the population that has left that area or have been driven out of that area because of high taxes and so forth. And I know the workings of a city has to do the things that's most profitable, but there's a lot of people that I know that still live in that area. And I know maybe 20, 30 years ago under the Peterson administration, they had a program where they were protecting homeowners that have been in that area for a long time against predators. That by allowing them to have some kind of a relocation situation where the city would come to them and say, we're regentrifying this area, we want you out of this area, and we're going to pay you to help to get out of this area. And just not keep the whole deal clean so that they can get the right price out of their property and maybe cushion the deal a little bit. But The city have turned so cruel now that they've let the investors come in and take charge and just run rickshod over poor people that are maybe illiterate and are certainly high-tech illiterate, and they can't deal with the computer. So it's just sickening to see that the money that's being spent on these projects right now, just like in King Park, all that money that was held back from when it was Dodge City is now being spent on the new residents, which are white people and are wealthy people that are moving in there now to enslave them. Same principle.
Is there anyone in the public, anyone else in the public, who wants to comment on proposal number 253?
Hello, Gary Moody, 41 North Keeling Avenue. There's no doubt that, and I'm sure that few would not want a new animal care facility. However, I'm just here to object to the IACS's plan for the location. 3 years and 1 month ago, Mayor Hogsett celebrated the completion of this plan, which is 157 pages long. It cost $200,000 from an EPA grant. And just let me read a brief description of that event that Near composed. Over 100 neighborhood and community representatives turned out to the event. The plan proposes about 7 acres of mixed-use residential and commercial development at the intersection of Sherman Drive and East Michigan Street. A new city 3-acre park on the west side of Sherman Park along LaSalle Street, and about 40 acres for light industrial and logistics for uses. The plan also proposes that community and business leaders considering new, I'm reading this straight, considering new learning center that would act as a bridge to serve neighborhood residents on job skill development and placement, while also helping new Sherman Park businesses fill their future jobs with qualified neighborhood residents. The area around there is densely populated, it's low income, it's high crime. This was a year-long, very public process. The proposal for the location has had no public process that I'm aware of. It hasn't been before the Animal Care Advisory Committee, and I don't believe it's been before the BNS Board. Trying to find that out. We're talking about jobs here. There'll be construction jobs to begin with and ongoing. For example, if Amerifab related businesses come into that parcel on the west side, Recycle Force is going to be on the east side, and there could be spinoffs from that.
Mr. Moody? Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wants to comment on proposal 253? Councilor Ethan Evans, you had a comment?
Yes, Mr. President, I just would like to ask, if possible, to abstain from this vote, from hearing earlier, just a lack of information on some of the meetings yet to have, as Councilor Larison had said. So I just would appreciate being able to abstain at this point.
Very good. Councilor Kim?
That's fine, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Evans. If there are no further comments, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The motion carries 23 yeas and 1 abstention. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 255, referred to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 255, 2021 approves an additional appropriation totaling $2,595,000 in the 2021 budget of IFD federal grant funds in character 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the purpose of funding expenses incurred during the deployment of Indiana Task Force 1 as part of the National Urban Search and Rescue Response System Response Cooperative Agreement. Chief Malone stated that he is very proud of their Task Force 1 team and their deployments. These funds will be grant funded, so this is a reimbursement. Chief Malone said that that this proposal be approved knowing that it's a grant funded by the city and will be reimbursed.
Councilor Carlino moves, seconded by Councilor Mosquera, to send Proposal 255 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. Motion carried by a vote of 12-0. Mr. President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on Proposal 255?
I only do it because, Mr. President, when people talk about grants, grants are contracts, and they're also tax dollars. The only reason we would get the government gets money is they tax people. Now, we can be a good time Charlie here in the city of Indianapolis. Every time there's a disaster somewhere else, and go and help them. But you see right here, this one instance of costs almost $3 million. That's money that could be used to shore up some deficit here in this city or help other programs that are trying to help in this city. There's always FEMA. They have FEMA. They have that agency in place, the federal government, to help out if a city or a state gets in trouble with their infrastructure because they've neglected it over the years and maybe not kept it up to stuff, then FEMA should go and help them. The city of Indianapolis should not be going having any agreements whatsoever with other states to help them in a tragic time. That takes the stress off of the government, the federal government, their FEMA programs that they are in place to do just that. So I think we're being we're just being redundant when we send our trained people without being paid. I mean, it'd be something different if they were getting paid. If they were getting paid $3 million for their services, then they could bring that money back to the city. But it's saying that we're getting it through grant money, that does not work because grants are contracts and grants are taxes that come out of your pocketbook. So don't be, I see a lot of counselors with smiles on their face, oh, it's grant money, oh, it's grant money. That's money that the federal government takes from us at gunpoint, Mr. President, and I don't think we should be squandering going helping other cities when we got problems of our own.
Is there anyone else in the public who wants to comment on Proposal number 255?
Good evening, Councilor Hank Harris, President of Indianapolis Professional Firefighters, Local 416. I do just want to take a moment and recognize, as everybody knows, this past Saturday, we remembered those that we lost 20 years ago to the September 11th attack. And I want to recognize the Indiana Task Force and Division Chief Tom Neal, who is here. We actually have a couple other members from the task force that are here, including myself. So I just want to remember those and remember the 3 members that the local lost due to occupational cancer from responding to those attacks. Sam Scott from IFD, Barry Green from IFD, and Jackie Phillips, who was a Pike Township firefighter. While they didn't die at the center, at the World Trade Center, they died subsequent from cancer afterwards, after that. So I just want to take a moment to remember those and recognize that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Chairman Oliver.
Yes, to the Speaker. Mr. Chairman, a lot has been acknowledged and recognized about the heroes of 9/11, and I think those first responders that went on that trip, I would like to, this council, to recognize them if they would come forward at a future date and be honored and recognized properly by this council, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
The former Speaker, Represent 416, can he come back?
Yes, Mr. Harris.
Yes, sir.
So you heard my comments about those first responders that went
yes, sir.
to Ida down there in the south, and I guess in the east also, but we want to recognize them for the full council.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I know this is a long meeting, so I didn't want to get into too much, but I also want to recognize they did respond down to Miami for the Surfside collapse. That was not a normal deployment. I'm sure if you talk to anybody, I was there when they came back. No other way to put it than they were beat up. It was a tough deployment. It was just physically labor of the things they saw and the things they had to deal with. And then also going down to Hurricane Ida. The task force also responded down to Katrina, previously down in Louisiana. So our task force responds all across the country to any needs. and it is federally funded. It's not, the taxpayers of Indianapolis aren't paying it. It's all from federal funding. So we're there when the country needs us, wherever it is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment on Proposal 255? All right, seeing no one. Councilor McCormick.
Hi, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say I'm proud of our Indiana Task Force 1 members, the teams, and the hard dedication and work that they take when they deploy away from our community and their families and their jobs. I hope with every ounce of my being that we never have to have an event here where we have to call on other Task Force 1 teams to come. But I know that if we do, they will be here to support us like we support them. And I encourage all my colleagues to support this because they are imperative to our and our community and our country's safety in our time of need.
Very good. Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just quickly would like to echo Councilor McCormick's comments and be added as a co-sponsor of this proposal. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor McCormick.
Could I be added as well, please, as a co-sponsor?
Very good. Thank you. Additional comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 286, referred to Administration and Finance Committee. Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 286, 2021 establishes an ARP coronavirus local physical subfund for the federal stimulus coronavirus pandemic fund to hold the city allocation of physical recovery fund dollars to the federal pursuant of the American Rescue Plan of 2021 and approves appropriations of $206,309,559 to the 2021 city non-department budget APR Corona Local Virus Stimulus Subfund in characters 1, 2, 3, and 4 fund. And in the response efforts addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, including public health measures, programs to combat the secondary economic effects of the pandemic forced by Marion County residents, small businesses, and nonprofits, the expense incurred or will be incurred by the city county government in responsible pandemic. It's passed out of committee 12-0. I so move.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on Proposal 286?
Mr. President, just like when I testified before on this matter, I said that the City Council it certainly has the ability to appropriate at least half of these funds. And I think it's the oversight on your part to not let the city have $103 million, keep $103 million for the council to appropriate the way it sees fit. And if that's not done, it makes me think that there's some kind of a deficiency in our in this chamber right now that can't appropriate $103 million. Well, anyway, the city did say, Mr. President, that they were going to spend $115 million pursuant to the Public Health and Safety Division of Law Enforcement. Now, they're going to spend that money on psychiatric help for people that may be wandering the street now with some psychiatric problem or have been diagnosed with some psychiatric problem. I don't know whether they have or not. But I know what I have been seeing, Mr. President, more and more people walking the streets in a dazed, hypnotic state. More and more people walking around with a $5,000 bottle of prescription drugs living on the street. So I just don't want our city to become a place where we're seeing this intensify more and more over the years of more people walking the streets destitute with a bottle of psychiatric dope in their pockets. When they go before the judge asks them, have you taken your medicine today? Oh, and make a joke out of it. I mean, it's helping somebody, Mr. President. It's helping the people who are issuing this dope. It's helping the people who are performing the therapeutic situation. But I bet you I can't find one person in this room, if you give them $5,000 a month, that they will cure all of their problems or either drive them into the grave if they're junkie. So I just like to...
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment on Proposal 286?
Hi, good evening, Mr. President, councilors. Justin Phillips, Overdose Lifeline. I'm here just to speak in support of this proposal. We know what the pandemic has done, and one of the councilors mentioned this earlier as it relates to substance use disorder and mental health and the opioid overdose crisis. Last year, we were up 30% in overdose deaths in our nation, and we know it's greatly affected Marion County. Overdose Lifeline will be serving a very vulnerable population, potentially with some funding in this proposal for housing, specifically for women who are pregnant with substance use disorder, as well as women who are parenting newborns or young children. Housing, recovery supportive housing, is really important to helping people get beyond their substance misuse and into recovery. We know that anecdotally as well as through data, and we have very little housing for women as a very vulnerable population, as well as very little housing for women who are pregnant and parenting small children. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marshawn Walling. I'm President and CEO of Black Onyx Management and Applied Research and Management Consultancy. I rise in support of Proposal 286 and a provision that would support a Black-led CDFI, or Community Development Financing Institution. It's a concept that my company has been developing with support from the city and LISC, with strong interest from the Indianapolis Urban League, Indiana Black Expo, and the African American Coalition of Indianapolis. Brookings scholar Andre Perry, who's also a part of my research team, localized the massive economic opportunity that black business development could mean for the Indianapolis Carmel Anderson MSA, and found that if there were parity in business formation, number of employees, employee salaries between black and non-black businesses, the region would experience a $52 billion economic impact and the creation of over 169,000 jobs. A Brookings study also found that Indianapolis ranked 55 out of 85 metros in black business ownership. A 2021 Federal Reserve study found that 53% of black-owned firms reported struggling to access credit, more than any other racial or ethnic group in the study. Nationally, black firms have also consistently reported experiencing financial challenges in previous studies from the same report from 2017 up to 2020. Locally, a survey of over 160 black businesses based in Indianapolis found that only 20% had received a loan from a traditional bank during the entire life of their business. To meet the challenge of black business formation and development, the Indiana Black Expo, the Indianapolis Urban League, the Indy Black Chamber of Commerce, the Indianapolis Recorder Foundation have come together to support the development of a black-led nonprofit community loan fund. In 1821, David Mallory established what is believed to be the first black business in Indianapolis. It was a barbershop, a business that built community. Black businesses have been an integral part of this community for over 200 years. We support Proposal 286 because the specific provision I am referencing is an important step as we continue to pursue equity in 2021.
Any additional comments from anyone in the public on Proposal 286? All right. Seeing no one, let us proceed to the board for our vote. The motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is Proposal number 290, referred to Public Works Committee. Chairman Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 290 approves an additional appropriation totaling $25 million in the 2021 budget of the Department of Public Works Capital Asset Lifecycle and Development Fund in characters 3 and 4 to finance design, construction, and inspection of capital infrastructure projects and the furtherance of development of greenways, neighborways, and other multimodal facilities as prescribed in the City of Indianapolis and Marion County Indy Moves Transportation Integration and Thoroughfare Plans. Councilor Carlino moved, seconded by Councilor McCormick, to send proposal number 290, 2021 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and that motion carried by a vote of 10-0, and I so move.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Chairwoman Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm in full support of this proposal. For the first time in many years, the Far East Side and East Side will see a connector to those folks downtown and residents, and be able to partake in the utilization of green space and trails for families, of development and connectivity, for equity among activities, outdoor space, and sprucing of economic development as well in the area. This particular part will connect Grassy Creek Park through the 21st Street trails to downtown, or particularly to, what trail is that? Pogues Run, which then all the way downtown. So we will have some true connectivity for the first time and not feel like left out or haven't been included. This is give us some inclusion for the first time in many years, with a sizable portion of allocation in a, I won't say extracurricular, but in a lifestyle quality of life enhancement. So I just want to say that, and I thank DPW for their forwardness on this, and the mayor's team and my colleagues for supporting this. Thank you, Mr. President, for the time to speak.
Very good. Councilor Jared Evans.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the stuff I live for as a city councilor. Extremely excited to get this approved and passed tonight, and thank the administration, specifically Controller Ken Clark, who I know had a lot to do with this, and the best director of the Department of Public Works, wherever he's at in there. High five to you too, buddy. This doesn't impact District 2 particularly, but it impacts this city. And these are the type of things that we need to continue to invest in as we add more amenities in the city of Indianapolis to compete with those suburbs. These are the things that people who are looking to move and buy homes and communities are looking for. So very excited about this. Thank you.
Very good. Yes. Thank you, Chairwoman. Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, just want to echo, I think, is a sentiment that many of us share up here, and that is the emphasis on the quality of life in our community and investing in that. And as we all know, Indianapolis suffers per capita well below the national median for money spent on greenways and parks per citizen. So I think this is a step in the right direction. I do think the quality of life is a big issue as our city is trying to prepare for the 21st century and to be competitive on the national and international level with other cities to get the quality of people and manpower and woman power we need for the future. This is the type of investment we need to make, in my opinion. So I, too, would like to, if Councilor Adamson would allow me, to be a co-sponsor of this proposal, and do encourage my other councilors to support it as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Additional comments from councilors? Councilor Jared Evans.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to add, if I may, to be added as a co-sponsor as well. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Councilor Ethan Evans.
I would also echo the comments of previous councilors and Councilor Boots. This district is right next to mine, and some of the trails would be right near, affecting both of our districts. And also like to make the point that this would be impacting connectivity just in general, and be increasing the efficiency and be able to help just get people in transportation in general by foot more easily, and hopefully this would impact the future in other districts and across the city, so that we can see an increase in these projects going forward, where they haven't been, so that we can help improve connectivity by foot traffic and by bicycle traffic. Oh, and I would also like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. President. When I heard about this, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was so excited and so happy. Eagle Creek Trail entirely through District 15. I'm ecstatic for my residents and the constituents and those of us all on the west side that are going to be impacted, from Councilor Evans, Jared Evans' district, Carlino, and Councilor Jones's. So please add me as a co-sponsor. And again, super excited about the investment from the administration on this.
Very good. Any additional comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on Proposal 290? All right, seeing no one, let's proceed to the board for our vote. The motion carries 24-0. There is no business under special orders unfinished business, and so we will now proceed to special orders final adoption. And this next item on our agenda is proposal number 220, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairwoman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 220 approves a statement of benefits for Micronutrients USA, LLC, an applicant for tax abatement property located in a ERA. The proposal passed out of committee by a vote of 11 to 1 to 0, and I so move.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick question here. I don't sit on that committee, but I did read the statement of benefits, and I saw what the organization Micronutrition is putting up in terms of jobs. And I did have a couple questions if anybody was here to answer them for me. But I also had a question about what the abatement terms are. I did not see those on the statement of benefits. So what's the abatement amount and over what term?
Very good. Is there anyone here who can answer Councilor Hart's question?
Good evening, councilors. Ryan Hunt with the Department of Metropolitan Development. We are staff for the Metropolitan Commission and working on this tax abatement. The proposal...
Mr. President, I can't hear.
Mr. Hunt, it's okay if you can take your mask off.
The proposal passed preliminarily adopted by the Metropolitan Development Commission is for a 3-year real property tax abatement on a standard declining schedule for this proposal.
I heard 3-year, but I didn't hear how much.
Well, it's the estimated savings over the 3-year term is about $260,000, but it's a 3-year standard schedule deduction proposed on the real estate improvements only. They are making personal property investment, but that was not included in the abatement.
Okay, so that's relatively small. Is there anybody here from the organization to talk about the opportunity of these jobs? And the reason I bring this up is because I talk to individuals in my community all the time about jobs, and when they see $17 an hour, that's important to them. But when I talk to individuals in any age range, it could be from 18 through 50 or plus, a salary or an hourly rate is nice for them, but what about benefits? What about growth options? Are they going to be able to grow in the company? Is the company going to invest in those people? And those are the types of questions. Unfortunately, I don't sit on that committee, but those are the types of questions that I want to ask these developers, because if they're not investing in people, the people of Indianapolis, we certainly should not be investing in them. And so I'd like to know if somebody from that organization is here. Hopefully they are, if we're voting on an abatement for them this evening. But if not, that's going to be very unfortunate.
Is there anyone in the audience from Micronutrients USA.
Good evening.
Evening.
Yes, I'm the finance manager, one of the officers of the company, and then Carla Jackson, our quality director. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Absolutely. So in terms of investing in the people, what kind of opportunities for growth will your employees have in the city of Indianapolis?
So from a growth perspective, when we look to, as far as moving forward our employees, when we are advancing our employees, first of all, we look internally when we are looking for supervisors, managers, those kind of things. That's the first place we go, is to make sure that we are investing in our employees. Making sure that we are doing the proper training, looking for next level, next steps. We have what we call skill levels, skill blocks, in which we make sure that they may come in as an entry-level employee, but we're making sure that they get the different skills, they do the different cross-trainings, and that they are able to advance in the company as far as the next type of process that they are able to do. So we are definitely making sure that we are investing in our people because, you know, we want them to stay. We want them to be there 15, 20 years because it takes a long time to train people. It takes a long time to find quality people. And when you're talking about chemical manufacturing, you don't want a revolving door. So you want those people who start as maybe a material handler or a lab tech. So I can speak to my group. I have several people who started as a lab tech and they're now lab managers, or they've moved on to be building leaders or supervisors. And that is best for us because they know the process. They understand the process well. And then people who come in say, hey, I have an opportunity. This is somewhere I want to stay. This is somewhere I want to be. So that's just a part of our process.
Just a follow-up final question. Has the organization talked to any members of the community about the community's needs? And if so, what are they?
So that's best probably answered by our HR group, but we have reached out to as far as like...
Mr. President, may I make a point of order real quick? I just want to point out that the individuals that are speaking are here because of the main person who was communicating with us had a medical emergency, so they may not be the most informed. And yes, they reached out to the community, several organizations in District 22 and surrounding it. Everyone should have had this in their mailboxes with some of the questions that came out of both committee and the last council. And I remind my council members, this is a 3-year tax abatement under $300,000. I've never seen a business scrutinized as much as I have seen this company, a small business in my district. And quite frankly, it frustrates the crap out of me. They've been very transparent and they've tried to provide the information. We've communicated with counselors that had questions. I guess I'll rest from there.
All right, so just to be clear, you raised a document, and that was sent to all council members?
This should have been in every counselor's mailbox this afternoon, I think around 10 or 11 a.m. With questions. And again, I just want, these individuals are here because the individual who was leading this effort has had a medical emergency. And that's why this proposal was postponed from the last council meeting to this one. And there's been a lot of back and forth. And I appreciate them and their effort to try to get us the information that we had regarding some of the questions that were from some of my colleagues.
All right. And so as you had indicated right now, and I think this is, you're very familiar with this particular project, community members have been met with and
Yes.
reached out to, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Question.
You got a question? All right, yes. Chairwoman Lewis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I do want to remind my colleagues that all committee hearings are open to the group, and so I appreciate Councilor Hart's questions. They're all great questions, but I do encourage all of my colleagues to attend these meetings because that's the opportunity really to do a deep dive into these proposals. With your permission, Mr. President, I would like to have someone from the administration, maybe Director Martin our Mr. Rusty to come forward and talk about the benefits involved in this incentive package. And then also, I do want to share to Councilor Evans' point, this company has been very transparent. They have followed up. They literally place calls and emails to us on the committee to ensure that all of our questions were answered from the hearings.
Very good. Yes. Director Martin.
Yes, thank you. Scarlett Martin, the Director of the Department of Metropolitan Development. I want to thank the councilors for considering this proposal. As for the last few years, the last couple of years, we've evolved our tax abatement program and a couple of other incentive programs to mirror the mayor's goals around inclusive incentives. And part of that requires us to look at the full benefits package that employers are offering. And so we make that consideration in terms of how many years we're offering in terms of tax abatement, how we scale that investment, and so that's always taken into account. And we were happy to work with Micronutrients, who do provide a pretty robust benefits package, and as I think they stated, they are looking to recruit people to work there for a longer period of time because of the nature of their work. The companies are also required, any company that receives a tax abatement from DMD or from the city of Indianapolis is required to invest an additional 5% into the community in the form of either transit, childcare, or training for their employees. And Micronutrients has selected to invest 5% in transit, and so they will be donating 5% of the entire incentive amount towards Indigo Foundation to support transit development around the site, and so that hopefully their employees can have that option if that's what they wish.
Chairman, is that fine?
Thank you, Director Martin.
Thank you. All right, Chairwoman Jackson. Chairman Jackson.
Thank you very much. I'd like to abstain from the vote for perceived conflict of interest.
All right. Councilor Hart?
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to finish, if I may.
Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. First and foremost, I want to remind this body that I am elected here just like everybody else, and I represent 43,000 people in the District of 18. They elect me to sit at this chair and to ask the appropriate questions, especially when those constituents come to me and they make comments about what they want to see when economic development comes into their part of the district. So it is equally pertinent when it comes into other parts of the city to ask the same kind of questions. If we're going to start building a community in Indianapolis, we have to make sure that we're investing in companies that are going to equally make that investment. That is my point, Mr. President. That's what I'm trying to express. That's what I'm trying to fact find. I can try and make as many committee meetings as possible. If I can't meet it, we're all working adults and have schedule, and this is a part-time job. But this was my opportunity and is my opportunity to represent my constituents, and I will do it today, and I will do it going forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you. Additional comments on Proposal 220. Chair. Very good. Additional comments on Proposal 220. All right, seeing none, let's proceed to the board for a vote. Chairman Gray. Chairman Gray. Motion carries 23 yeas, 1 abstention. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 221, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairwoman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 221 authorizes the issuance of an economic development tax increment revenue bonds in a maximum aggregated principal amount not to exceed $3,750,000 to 1820 Ventures LLC for Elevator Hill Phase 1 project located in Elevator Hill expansion allocation area at approximately 1117 East Market Street, District 17. Director Martin, DMD, stated that the proposal was presented last month, adding It is a developer-backed bond project, and it is located in a downtown consolidated tax increment financing area, a TIF. She stated that the first phase of the project will be a multifamily project, and it is included in affordable housing. Director Martin stated that it is a 15% MBE, 8% WBE, 3% BBE, and 1% DBE. The proposal passed out of committee by a vote of 11-0. And Mr. President, I so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Other comments from councilors? Chairman Gray.
Mr. President, this is a good example of one of those projects that we need to keep better eye on, because here's a project to try to go through without even having an MBE or WEB program with it. And I'm surprised that they've been approved with such low numbers. And I would like for someone to eventually give me the name and companies or the people that are MBE participant in this particular 221. I find it hard that the past chief of staff didn't take the proper steps in which to do this proposal the first time around. So once again, I'll be looking at this proposal 221 throughout its entirety.
Very good. Additional comments? Councillor Ethan Evans.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had some clarifying questions, if possible. If someone was here to explain the project a little bit more, if that's possible.
All right. I will ask if Director Martin might come back up.
Sure, absolutely. And I do want to state that there is a representative from 1820, the development company, here with us tonight as well. This first phase of the Elevator Hill development is a multifamily project. And so they will be committing either 10% of their units at 50% AMI or 5% of their units at 30% AMI. So there'll be an affordable housing component as required by the Department of Metropolitan Development. And the other units will be market rate housing. And we will be working with them on some infrastructure components around the site. It's a developer-backed bond project structured much in the same way as we've seen many other developer-backed bond projects, with 80% of their site-generated TIF pledged towards the repayment of those bonds.
If I could just follow up. So when it says the principal amount not to exceed $3.75 million, does that mean there could be more that comes back around in addition to that?
No, that's the entirety of this first phase.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Additional questions or comments from councillors? Chairman Lewis, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, since Director Martin's there, in my minutes, Director Martin stated that it is a 15% MBE, 8% WBE, 3% BBE, and 1% DBE. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Gray.
That's what they say. They're going to do. But they had already issued this thing here before they ever considered talking about the WBE and the MBEs and stuff. They came back and did a thing to get the WBE program in there. My question is, can I get a list of the names of the people who participated in the WBE and the amount of money that was spent into that particular company?
That's very good. Director?
Yeah, so the Office of Minority and Women Business Development does work with DMD to track performance on these projects, and so that would be a public record. We would be happy to work with you to make sure you have that information.
Thanks, Councilor. Jeremy Stevenson with 1820 Ventures. The project is actually currently out to bid, so we look forward to and have been working with the office on the inclusion plan, on the XBE plan. It's currently out to bid. It's been advertised in the Indianapolis Recorder as well as the Indianapolis Star, as well as the office and on social media. And so we look forward to working with several XBE contractors to bring this project to a successful project to exceed those goals. So I don't know where the information is in terms of it, but this project is currently out to bid with pre-bid meetings for awards even this Thursday, and those have all been advertised as such. So.
Chairman Gray, did you have a question?
Same old dog and pony show, but that's okay.
All right. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to encourage viewers and my colleagues for these economic development issues and projects that are coming before us. If you can't make it out to committee, there are presentations that are given at committee, and they're on Channel 16, and you can watch them at your leisure. You can just log on to indy.gov, click on Channel 16, and look at the presentations, and you can do it at your convenience. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder of that, Councilor Jones. Additional comments from councilors? All right, seeing none, we'll go to the board on proposal number 221. The motion carries 23 yeas and 1 nay. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 222, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairwoman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 222 authorizes the issuance of an economic development tax increment revenue bond in a maximum aggregated principal amount not to exceed $8,660,000 to TWG Development LLC for the Rise on Meridian project located in South Meridian allocation area at approximately 915 South Meridian Street within District 16. Director Martin, that this is a developer-backed bond project located in District 16 and is a multi-family project in the near South Gateway TIF. This project is 15% MBE, 8% WBE, 3% BBE, and 1% DBE. The developer has committed to the inclusion plan and developed a plan to achieve it within the Office of Minority and Women Business Development. Adding, the developer will have to check in with DMD and OMWBD as they go through the bidding process to ensure that they are following the plan and achieving their goals. The proposal passed out of committee by a vote of 11-0. Mr. President, I so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? I'm sorry, Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to amend Section 3 of Proposal 222-2021 in order to allow TWG to realize the stated 80% TIF revenue pledge by setting the interest rate for the bonds at the typical maximum rate for the newly created TIF allocation area by deleting the language that is double stricken through and adding the double underlined language in the highlighted portions. Each one of my colleagues has a copy of the amended portion. Thank you, Mr. President.
It's been a motion for an amendment. Is there a second? All right. So, comments from councilors on the amendment, please. Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make it clear that I must abstain for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Boots. Additional comments on the amendment? Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was wondering if I could see the amendment. Does anybody else have copies of it?
It was emailed to you in your packet.
It was emailed
Angela
to me?
emailed it.
Oh, in this packet. I don't think I have it here.
All right. If there are no comments on the amendment, I'd like to take it to a vote. Madam Clerk. Those in favor? Yeah, green button. Opposed? Red button. Thank you. All right, the motion to amend passes 22-0. Now, is there any discussion on Proposal 222 as amended? Is that Councilor Hart?
Yes, Mr. President. I'd just like to make a few comments on the proposal. One of the things that I have a lot of reservations about is the second TIF we're doing it for downtown this evening. And, I looked back at some numbers, and half of our city's debt is in downtown-related TIFs. I can tell what we're trying to do with some of these things is apparently increase multifamily housing. There can be arguments on either side of why that's good and why that's bad. And some of the other commitments that I hear today that keep coming up is, providing affordable housing options. I want to make sure everybody remembers that, there are 8 other townships in this county that have plenty of affordable housing options. And beyond that, when we get folks into a perpetual rent cycle, these are apartments. They're never going to own them. We're providing rental opportunities. If we want to create real economic opportunity for the citizens of Indianapolis, we need to create opportunities to where they have an opportunity to buy and own a home. Getting them in a rent cycle isn't going to help anybody. It's going to get them stuck in a cycle to where they're paying more than they need to for their living expenses. So let's focus on some of those things in the future, and those are my reservations, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councillor. Additional comments from councillors on Proposal 222 as amended? All right, seeing none, I'd like to take 222 as amended to the board for a vote. Chairman Gray. Chairman Gray. Very good. Motion carries 21 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 abstention. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 256, referred to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 256, 2021, approves and authorizes the execution of interlocal agreement for the IFD to provide fire protection and prevention services to excluded city, Beech Grove, Indiana, for a fee in order to provide efficiencies for both the city and Beech Grove. Chief Malone stated that the Indiana law does permit municipalities to enter into interlocal agreements for fire protection and fire protection services. He said that for several months, representatives from Beech Grove, IFD, the Office of Finance and Management, Firefighters Local 416, and other stakeholders have been meeting to talk about the logistics and finances of this agreement. This agreement has been vetted and all parties are on board. Chief Malone said the date for the initiation of services will be on December 25, 2021. He said that the term is for 20 years. Chief Malone said that on or before December 25, 2021. Dennis Buckley, Mayor of Beech Grove, said that he is supportive of the agreement. He said that he was a fireman in Beech Grove for 30 years and served as chief for the last 12 years. Councilor Mascari moved, seconded by Councilor Carlino, to send proposal 256 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. Motion carried by a vote of 13-0. Mr. President, I so move.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Other comments from councilors? Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. As many of you know, Beech Grove is a big part of my district. There's some backstory to what's happened in the Beech Grove Fire Department. Back in 2003, they slowly took away their fire trucks. At first, the ladder truck went away. Then we lost all the rescue equipment. They cut people out of cars. The airbags are gone. They sold everything. And I fully support this because our firefighters in Beech Grove have been handicapped for all of these years. They are dependent on Indianapolis, and now they're going to become part of the greatest fire department in Indiana, the IFD. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am pretty far from Beech Grove, but I'm excited about this merger and bringing Beech Grove Fire Department into IFD. I myself have never fought a fire. I'm not brave enough to do so, but I can tell you as someone who has family members who are firefighters, who love firefighters, the thought that in the same city, two trucks responding at the same time, one from IFD, one from Beech Grove, that those firefighters from Beech Grove weren't as equally protected and their families weren't as equally protected, is heartbreaking and frankly scary for me. So to bring Beech Grove into IFD, which I agree with Frankie, best fire department in the state, is a great thing, and it's going to bring equality and equity to our firefighters. So I'm hoping that we can see more of this in the future.
Thank you, Councillor. Additional comments on Proposal 256? All right, seeing none, let's take it to the board. Madam Clerk. Motion carries 23-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 257, referred to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 257, 2021 amends the code to clarify provisions regarding the Indianapolis Fire Departments to reflect the prevailing operations of the department and make technical corrections. Michael White, Assistant Chief of IFD, stated that periodically IFD has to update language to the code for their department. Councilor Carlino moved, seconded by Councilor Barth, to amend proposal number 257, 2021. Amendment carried by a vote of 13-0. And Mr. President, the proposal also passed as amended, 13-0. I so move.
Motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Chairman Robinson.
Mr. President, I heard a couple comments about IFD being one of the best departments in the state. I beg to differ nationally. So if Chief Malone could just come up here and talk about some of the national awards they've received and the national work they do with the rescue team and the recognition they get for the work they do here in the city and across the country. If you can just give them about 2 minutes, give them 2.5, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman Robinson.
Chief Malone?
Chief Malone, would you come forward, please?
He probably could. He may not be able to hear me back there. Could I ask him again, Mr. President? Could you hear me, Chief?
Please.
I did not. Could
Please,
you
Chairman
repeat
Robinson,
that, please?
please repeat.
I'm sure you put me on the spot for something, but...
Well, it's good. It's good because you come before our committee over the last several years, and you all have been recognized nationally for the work that you all do. You've got received national awards and national recognition for the work of IFD, the men and women in your leadership. Could you just briefly just talk about a few things you all have received and done nationally to be recognized for your work in the city?
Well, the big one we talked to you about is international accreditation. I've used those numbers. There's approximately 30,000 fire departments in our country. 297 of those 30,000 are internationally accredited. That's a very small group. We are in the process and have been recently evaluated by ISO, the Insurance Service Office. That's a rating from 1 to 10. 10 being you've got a lot of work to do, 1 being the very best. Your fire department's currently a 2, but we're very confident based on that evaluation that come November we're going to have very good news that will be a Class 1. So international accreditation and Class 1, those 30,000 becomes 95 out of those 30,000 that are both Class 1 and internationally accredited. We're working with more locally here for you. I presented you with 20-year apparatus plans that working with the Mayor's Administration and the Controller, Ken Clark, OFM. We're working through and staying on pace with our 20-year replacement plan for stations. We're on pace with our 10-year apparatus plan to replace apparatus. At the end of that 10-year, we're going into year 7. We will have replaced every piece of equipment on the Indianapolis Fire Department. Nothing will be more than 10 years old frontline, and no reserve will be more than 15 years old, and we'll be on that cycle. So yeah, all of our people make that happen. I always recognize our 1,300 men and women that make up this organization. I'm very proud to serve with them. And always make a special point to recognize the 290 that are out there protecting us while we're here having this important meeting. they deserve your respect. So I appreciate the time. Thank you, Mr. President. All right.
Thank you, Chief.
One other thing, I don't want to turn around without saying I want to recognize Local 416. You absolutely do not see the relationship that we have with each other in this state, and certainly not in this country. As Hank and I travel and meet different locals or different fire departments, they're envious of the relationship, and a lot of the good that you allowed me to come up and talk about would not be possible without that partnership. So very appreciative of it. Thank you.
Very good. Additional comments on Proposal 257? All right, seeing none. Chairman Robinson, did you have an additional comment? All right, very good. Seeing no additional comments, let's take us to the board. Madam Clerk. The motion carries 23-0. The next item on the agenda is Proposal 258, referred to Public Works Committee. Chairman Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal number 258, 2021, authorizes the City of Indianapolis, acting through the Marion County Stormwater Management District, to finance the planning, design, construction, and inspection of channels, culverts, levees, dams, stewardship, studies, and water quality projects, and to issue up to $50 million in revenue bonds in one or more series, and if necessary, interim financing notes, and approves and authorizes other actions in respect hereto. Sarah Reardon, director of the Indianapolis Bond Bank, gave a PowerPoint presentation making the following key points. This would issue up to $50 million in revenue bonds, bond anticipation notes, or short-term notice in one or more series. In November of 2018, the Bond Bank and DPW presented the 2019 2020 through 2022 Stormwater Capital Improvement Plan to the Public Works Committee, which included the current planned debt issuance of the $50 million to continue funding stormwater projects. As part of its 4-year capital plan, DPW has identified over $333 million in high priority capital projects to address pressing stormwater needs. To fund the capital needs, DPW has identified a mix of pay-go funding, remaining funds from the Series 2019 notes, and the bond note funding to pay for the capital program. The Stormwater District has $134 million in total debt outstanding, with annual debt service payments of $9.3 million, which are payable from stormwater user fees. Municipal market rates also continue to be attractive, with a 10-year MMD at 0.88% and 30-year MMD at 1.46%. And lastly, the U.S. Senate is close to passing a $1.1 trillion infrastructure bill, which we already know, has among the traditional road and bridge improvements will focus funds on broadband connectivity, green vehicles, charging stations, and emission reductions. Councilor Carlino moved, seconded by Councilor Boots, to send Proposal 258, 2021 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. That motion carried by a vote of 9-1-0, with Councilor Boots abstaining. I so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Other comments from councilors? Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just must repeat my abstention here at the full vote as well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Additional comments? Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to emphasize what a quality of life issue this is for my district, especially, and for all of Marion County, and thank DPW, especially Director Parker, for this investment, and I would like to be added as a co-sponsor to this. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Additional comments from councilors? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, would you open the board? Thank you. The motion carries 23 yeas and 1 abstention. The next item on our agenda, Proposal 259, referred to Public Works Committee. Chairman Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. With consent, I'd like to take Proposals 259 through 262 together.
consent.
Thank you. Proposal number 259 authorizes speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Indian Creek Section Division, as well as all streets within the adjacent Bell Runs, Farmington, and Glicks East 42nd Street Addition subdivisions in District 23. Proposal number 260 authorizes speed limit reductions to 25 miles per hour in the Adler Grove subdivision in District 18. Proposal number 261 authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the William L. Elders University Heights, Elders Marion Heights, Martin Burton's, and Reliable Realty Companies, the Freeland subdivisions in District 16 and 24. Proposal number 262 authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Cloverleaf Farms, Lindale, and Biltmore Gardens platted subdivisions in District 22. Councilor Carlino moves, seconded by Councilor Boots, to send proposal numbers 259 through 262 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and that motion carried by a vote of 10-0, and I so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Other comments from councilors? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk. The motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is Proposal 287, referred to Administration and Finance Committee. Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 287 was heard on September 7th. The digest approves the changes in compensation for personnel ordinance, provides controller that apply to cost of living adjustments to employee salaries, classifications, schedules, annual budgets, ordinances, to consider corresponding compensation increases for the employees not covered by collective bargaining ordinances, clarifying incentive pay, and add bonus pay award program to recognize exemplary performance and service, to reinstate benefits for leave for part-time employees, waive requirements for 2 weeks notice upon separation of payouts, benefit leave to certain employees, eliminate the payout of benefit leave when employees are terminated for gross misconduct, clarify the language of the holiday ordinance and pertains to these employees, a non-standard schedule, and add a new section providing paid parental leave. This passed out of committee 11-0. I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Other comments from councilors? Right, seeing none. Madam Clerk. The motion carries 23-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 288, referred to Administration and Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 288 was heard September 7th. Approves the revision of City of Indianapolis, Marion County membership into Public Employees Retirement Plan administered by the Public Retirement System to revise effective January 1st, 2022, membership options for new city and county employees to transfer between city agencies and offices, departments, and county agencies, offices, departments, to allow those employees the choice of PERF hybrid or PERF My Choice retirement savings plan, and to amend default provision by following select specific plan within 60 days of employment to the PERF hybrid plan. It's passed out of committee 11-0. I do so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk. The motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 289, referred to Administration and Finance Committee. Chairman Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 289 was heard August 31st. The digest revises the structure of the Information Services Agency to absorb the functions formerly performed by Telecom and Video Service Agency while maintaining the continuity of the operations and services, to grant the Information Technology Board the responsibilities and authorities formerly exercised by the Telecom and Video Services Board. It passed out of committee 12-0. I so move.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk. Motion carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 291, referred to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proposal 291, 2021, revises the structure of the Office of Public Health and Safety to recognize its new divisions and the creation of an Assessment Intervention Center, to create the Metropolitan Emergency Services Agency with divisions of emergency management, public safety communications, and emergency dispatch, absorbing functions previously performed by divisions of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department and the Office of Public Safety, to create an emergency management board and emergency management advisory commission in accordance with the state statute, and to revise the ordinance governing Indianapolis emergency medical services. Ken Clark, our city controller, the Office of Finance and Management, and Tom Sellis, the commander of IMPD, provided the details and goals of the presentation. The primary goals of the ordinance are the creation of a Metropolitan Emergency Services Agency, enhanced focus on emergency management and planning, improves equitable compensation for dispatch staff. The mayor appoints the chief and confirmed by the board. The chief appoints the directors of each division. Mr. Ken Clark said that they have worked with IMPD, IFD, the Sheriff's Department, OPHS to make sure that they are comfortable with the progress and to move forward. He said they all have engaged with the FOP Lodge 86 and IFD Local 416 to have their support to fully support these first responders. Councilor Boots moved, seconded by Councilor Oliver, to amend Proposal 291. Councilor Boots read the amendment in its entirety. The motion to amend carried by a vote of 13-0. Mr. President, the amended proposal passed out of committee by a vote of 13-0. I so move.
Motion's been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors?
Mr. President.
Chairman Robinson.
I just want to thank Councilor Boots for the reading of the longest, most tenuous amendment in committee. it was about 35 minutes long, so yeah. He did it with such grace, Mr. President.
Very
such
good.
Grace.
Very good.
That's all.
Is there a real reward or an award with that, or?
No, we try not to encourage such things.
Okay.
I'd like to know if you'd like to read it again by chance.
No, I'll waive the reward. Thank you.
Very good. Are there comments from councilors? Proposal 291, as amended. All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk. Motion carries 24-0. There is no business under special service district councils, and there is no business under new business. So the next item on our agenda is announcements and adjournment.
Mr. President.
The docketed agenda for this meeting of council having been completed.
Mr. President, I have an announcement.
Forgive me. We do have one announcement. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. We all made what I would consider a historic vote tonight with the investments of $25 million into our trails across the city, creating, as Councilor Ethan Evans had mentioned, an unprecedented unprecedented amount of connectivity for our city. I think we should all be very excited about this. And to commemorate this, the city is hosting a town hall meeting to share this amazing contribution and expansion of our trail system on Thursday at 5:30 at Centerpoint Brewery at the Circle City Industrial Complex, where we'll be sharing all the details of these trails with members of the public and other organizations that use these trails quite frequently. So I hope you all can make it.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. The docketed agenda for this meeting of council having been completed, the chair will now entertain motions for adjournment.
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Councilor Mowry.
Mr. President, I've been asked to offer the following motion for adjournment by Councilor Jones in memory of Dixie McRoy, by Councilor Adamson in memory of Frankie Castle and Trent Garrett, by Councilor Larison in memory of Gregory A. Clayton, by Councilor Carlino in memory of Bob Jenkins, by Councilors Carlino and McCormick in memory of Benjamin Melvin, by President Osley in memory of Joseph Trotter, Marshall Johnson, Jerry Harkness, and Lula Gillespie. Mr. President, I would like to move the adjournment of this meeting of the Indianapolis City County Council in recognition of and respect for the life and contributions of the persons I have specifically named. I respectfully ask the support of fellow councilors. I further request that the motion be made a part of the permanent records of this body and that a letter bearing the council seal and the signature of the president be sent to the family of each person advising of this action.
Thank you, Councilor Mowry. Hearing no objections, the motion is received and the request is so ordered. Hearing no further motions, we are adjourned. Thank you, councilors.